All right, all right. Our next panel, last but not the least, breaking down the meme economics formula. We will take a deep dive into the economics, principles, and tokenomics driving the success of meme coins. We will learn from experts as they unravel the underlying mechanism that influence the valuation and market behaviors of meme coins. Let's welcome our CEO and co-founder Rachel to be our moderator for the panel. And our speaker, Rob, general partner at Dragonfly. Please take a seat. John, senior platform associate at Pantera. And Kuan, managing director at IOSG. Let's give them a round of big applause to our panelists.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for coming here and our wonderful guests. For the start, could I bother each of you to have a very short intro of yourself? Thank you.
I'm Rob Hadick. I'm a general partner at a fund called Dragonfly. If you don't know us, we're a $2.5 billion crypto-focused venture firm that invests both in the East and the West and have been around since 2017 or so.
Hey guys, I'm Jonathan. I'm with Pantera Capital. So we are a venture capital firm and hedge fund that started investing in the space back in 2013. We currently have just over 250 portfolio companies across most verticals in crypto.
Kuan, I'm based in New York from IOSG. It's a VC fund. We started investing since 2017, and I'm personally mostly focused on consumer Web3.
So thank you. For my first questions, I would like to ask that, as everyone of us know, that the meme coin has sustained their popularity for very extended periods. What do you think are the factors behind it? Are there any social, economic root, or it's just pure speculations? Yeah.
I think it's pure speculation. And I would challenge it a little bit. So obviously, in so long as Dogecoin has been around since 2013, meme coins have been here a long time. But I think what we're seeing today is actually been around for a very short amount of time, which is this idea that we can just continue to launch new meme coins, and this capital rotation that's happening between all of them with things in launch pads like Pump.Fun. That's pretty specific to what has happened over the last few months. We saw NFTs kind of go through the same thing in 21, and it was somewhat of a similar cycle. But what I see with meme coins today, and it looks a lot like that, is just people looking for ways to make money and speculating around it. I think there will be, and there has been, communities that have been built up. Bonk might be one of them. Dogecoin might be one of them, but that's very few and far between to what is keeping most people, or where most of the attention is today when people are rotating into all of these new things.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Highly speculative asset class. I think when you have a very low barrier to entry and the possibility for outsized returns, you have a market that's ripe for speculation. And so I think that's currently the driving force behind a lot of the meme coin activity.
I'm going to repeat what they said, actually. But I think the culture has been around for many years. So then you put a financialization on top of meme, it's pretty natural to have this thing keep going. But again, I personally bought some meme token, but IOSG do not have any investment thesis in meme tokens, and we don't invest in meme tokens.
The only thing I would add is just because it's speculative trading doesn't mean that it doesn't need to have a negative connotation, right? It's not a bad thing. That's what it is. People are doing that because it's fun. It's part of the reason they're in crypto, and that's okay, right? And that's a use case. So I don't think it's bad that that's true.
I see, but I think Rob, earlier on you wrote up a Twitter thread, right? So on PFP and meme, basically the same thing. But right now you're saying that meme is pure speculation. Do you believe that the PFPs are also speculative, or is there any difference in what you saw from there and now? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think if you look at the PFP market that happened in 2021, most of it was just speculation in the same thing, right? Like people were trading NFTs. I mean, I think probably a lot of us, I saw that stat that OpenSea did like $6 of revenue or 2 ETH in volume in one day last week. I mean, it's essentially dead, right? And this is a business that was doing so much volume back in 2021 that it raised at, I guess, a $13 billion valuation, if I'm remembering that correctly, right? And it's because people were primarily speculating on these assets that they were trading there. I think what we have seen over that time is a few of these things have persisted. They've created communities and they've created maybe some value-added use cases. I mean, Pudgy Penguins obviously is selling plushies into Walmart, and that we haven't seen be successful potentially in other places. The communities, it's one thing to create a community. So obviously, Yuga did a really good job creating a community. What they've done a really bad job is sustaining that community. And those are actually two different skill sets, right? And two different things that you have to focus on. And so I think we'll see something very similar happen into meme coins, right? I think there's a lot of speculating for a lot of things that have absolutely no use cases. A lot of these meme coins are then trying to pitch themselves as, okay, well maybe someday I will have a use case in the same way that happened in the PFP market. I mean, I think it was like Iggy Azalea who said that, she's going to use Mother in like a payments platform, which is like the silliest thing I've ever heard. But there's this idea that people want to pitch this as like some sort of like future like utility, and then a few of them they'll execute on that, and they will create communities on that, and 99.9% of them will die at some point.
But I do feel like there's a difference in PFP and this cycle's meme coin, and I think last cycle PFP drove quite a lot of mainstream adoption, but until now we are not seeing that happening in memes. What is your take on this, and why is the difference? Yeah.
Was there mainstream adoption from NFTs, right? There was, MoonPay buying NFTs for celebrities, and then celebrities putting them as their Twitter, like PFP or whatever. But there was some interesting stuff like Stoner Cats, if people remember that, was like Ashton Kutcher's thing, and he was going to do a TV show around that, and I think actually did end up doing some of that on YouTube. And there were some things that people were trying to do with PFPs, but if you look back at the vast majority of that, it's basically all dead. All those celebrities left until now, and now they're trying to sell meme coins. But I'm not sure if we've actually seen the promise of any of those PFPs or NFT projects that fulfill any of that. And meme coins are almost a more honest representation of that, because really all people wanted to do was like speculate on funny shit.
Yeah. How about Jonathan, your view on memes? And do you feel like it's generally good or bad for the industry? Say, like we know that like people talk about, as what Rob just said, like it could be some cultural attention attached to them. And PFP also claimed that they have the utilities on driving more attentions and culture. But what's your view? Is it generally negative or sort of like positive to the industry?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think celebrity meme coins in particular have been a pretty contentious issue over the past couple of months. Whether they're net positive, net negative for the space. I've heard a lot of arguments sort of on both sides. I think it sort of comes down to whether you buy into the idea that all attention is good attention for a nascent industry that's still, sort of figuring itself out. Yes, the majority of celebrities that come in and create coins are going to be value extractors from the space, right? They're not going to put any new value in. Yes, people are going to lose money in the liquidity drain from other real protocols. Yes, there is the potential for stricter regulatory action, especially when you have a lot of celebrities that are shilling these tokens undisclosed, providing financial advice, et cetera. But on the other hand, you have people that think, the users that come in through these celebrity meme coins, like what percentage of them are sticky within the industry? What percentage of them are going to stick around and use actual protocols and be real users in the space? And I think that's where you get the argument that celebrity coins could be net positive. I think that's up to everyone to decide to go really either way.
Yeah, but people are still criticizing this by facilitating the memes. I think like many projects and the meme coin project itself is making their crypto industry like casinos. How's your response to that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think casinos are one of the best businesses in the world, honestly, for making money. And the space it was born out of the financialization of different things that people couldn't previously do. So it's always at the genesis, I think, of the crypto space to be looking for that financial edge or financial gain. So I don't think that's inherently a negative thing. So yeah, I think that's just part of being in the space.
Sure. And my next question goes to Kuan. Kuan,
Go easy on me.
yeah, definitely not asking about who you're dating, right? So for like we know that IOSG has a great footprint in Asia as well, but today we're seeing that most of the meme projects are created and led by the Western KOLs and projects. Do you think that like Asian projects will catch up and hop on that trend, or do you think that it's more of a Western and US centric phenomenon?
So I'm based in New York, so mostly focused on the U.S. European market, and I hope not. Like I hope Asian market does not keep up with this thing. I think lately I'm feeling pretty negative about meme token. I think it's become a terrible, terrible cocaine, distracting builders from focusing on the most important things. I would love to see more people focusing on LinkedIn for Web3, Uber for Web3, not more meme tokens. And also a question: if you use a meme token to kickstart your community, how many of these people you really want them to stay around? Are they really contributing? Like, if you're a community builder, you probably know better than I do. So that would be my take. I used to be like, I like meme token, but now I think I'm feeling quite negative towards that.
I see. Yeah, when you mentioned that
Feel free to disagree.
definitely, yeah. I remain neutral. So you remind me that like you're based in New York, and I understand that you used to be the founders of a consumer product as well, right? Can you share more with us on like when designing, say, products and marketing strategies, what are the differences you see in attracting the Eastern and Western audience, and then like I kind of feel interesting that although many of the meme coins are built by the Western's KOLs and projects, but it attract lots of Asian users, right? So what is your experience in attracting like users, both Eastern and Westerns? Yeah.
Well, I built a consumer company back in Web 2. Back then, we didn't have meme token. We had a similar thing called a gamification, which is putting points, some incentive to get users to do things. At some point, it becomes exploding big. There's some like conference about gamification. Same way, I think you're gonna see a meme token super cycle type of conference. And then gamification just become a regular thing. So in terms of attracting user, I personally don't see any difference. I think like I'm really the wrong person to answer this question. I think like happy this logo, it's not really attractive to me. I don't know why it's going viral actually. So I think somebody else who actually is better one to answer that.
Well, I think maybe to add to one point to this, though, like a lot of what happens in like selling products to people, and this is both true in Web 2 and Web 3 to this point, like can just be pitched as, well, memes, right? And so like memes have and always have been good at like selling things to people. People like to laugh, they like to feel good, they like to be part of a community. And frankly, like, we're investors in Monad. I'm very bullish on what they're doing, but one of the things they've done really well is memes, right? And like they building a community around that. We're also seeing, one of the things that is happening in Asia is Ondo. They're building a real product and have built a real product. But what do you hear people say all the time? One Ondo, one condo, right? And it's that originated in Asia actually, not in the U.S.
What's the name of the project?
Ondo Finance.
Okay.
Yeah. Which are building money market funds on chain, but there's this like meme about like an Ondo will buy you a condo, right? And these things are and frankly, you go into their chats and that's like all people are saying. They're not saying it's interesting that they're now using BlackRock as collateral for their tokenized money market fund. That's not why people are trading this thing. They're trading it because of this this meme. Now, I don't mean to say that, the price support and there isn't a lot of capital that is trading it for those reasons, but building communities, allowing people to have fun is always going to be good to market to people, and it is going to be part of a lot of what happens here, but also a lot of what happens in Web 2.
Agree.
Sure. You mentioned that the success of a meme also depends on whether they are able to build beyond the meme itself, the communities, the products, etc. Throughout your experience, is there any kind of indicators or early signs of the projects that could in fact develop into a successful meme? I mean, if say for Kuan also personally invest into memes, what are the key factors that you're looking into? Yeah, the question is to all of you, but might be I'm
I can
eager
go
to
first.
learn. Yeah.
I think the first meme coin I bought was MAGA token because it was easy to understand. I don't hold any political view towards who's going to be president, but it was easy to understand because I know Trump is the guy that's going to get all the attention. Second, the sort of time frame because the U.S. election is in November. So that's easy for me to actually speculate.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think determining the value of meme coins is definitely more difficult. It's a little bit of an art form. You have to determine, whether that meme has staying power, if it's more niche, or if it's only relevant for a certain amount of time. You can look at certain metrics. Ali Zak is actually one of our new research engineers, and she has a pretty cool Dune dashboard where she looks at recurring buyers versus new buyers, volumes, new buyers activity, all on chain. But that's really only relevant past a certain market cap of a meme. Anything lower is pretty much a lottery ticket. So you're just sort of guessing at that point. But yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that and vast majority of what happens in crypto is relative value, right? It's not absolute value. Otherwise, we'd have almost nothing trading at these billion-dollar valuations, and yet we have so many of them doing that. And so I think when you think about, okay, well, and you can kind of back into this, okay, well, the SHIB of Solana, which is WIF, or how do you back into that in relative value? You can put a little bit of, data around that. Reality is nobody really knows. It's about driving community for these guys, and people speculating. There is, of course, so to data, like Jonathan said, there's some stuff that you can, I think, evaluate flows, right? But flows are a very short-term way of thinking about it, not okay, well, I think this will be a good meme coin that will go up in price over the next 3 months or 6 months. In fact, many of them may not even exist in that period of time, right? And so so there are things you can do, and also a lot of the things that people look at, Twitter followers or mentions or sentiment, stuff like that, easily gamed. People buy them and stuff like that. So I think it's really, really tough. And so a lot of it is just having a good feel or being being in part of the right communities that are able to help these things foster.
I see. Now I know your stand. All of you believe that it's a pure speculations. But I was wondering that speculation. I think has been the need for speculation has been exist for quite a long time. But why, particularly in this cycle, that we see so many memes coming up and so many capital flow into memes? Is there anything that's different in these cycles that attracts so many attentions into meme? What's your thoughts?
I guess we don't have. I think first is I think in any system there's this thing called reflexivity. So there's sort of momentum, and when somebody somehow gets picked up on social, and then more people jump on the bandwagon, it just rolls on its own. And then also I think if you look at consumer space, anything gets huge success, you have to sort of sadly take advantage of 7 deadly sins of human beings. So speculation is a human nature. It's go to Vegas. So I think that's 2 things I think making things happen this way right now.
Yeah, I think it's actually physically easier to buy memes now than it was in the past or previous cycles. I mean, you have people like Jason Derulo posting a 4-step process of downloading Phantom, hopping on, buying your first meme. So if it's that easy, I think the barrier to entry is just super low, and so that could contribute to why it's been so widespread this cycle.
Yeah, the UX is definitely better. I think that's part of it. I also think, broadly, people in crypto are just copy traders in a lot of ways, right? And so, Bonk was born out of kind of, the depths of the bear market, and, it was able to do really well. And then, we saw a whiff happen. And so then it pretty quickly became, oh, well, some people made money in these things. Well, I should do this too, right? And then we saw this like flywheel pick up where all of a sudden Pump.Fund is issuing more tokens in, a few months than have ever been issued in crypto in its entirety of existence, right? And people are chasing these things. And so I think a lot of it has to do with, in the same way we saw with NFTs, is a lot of it has to do with incremental buyers who saw that there was money to be made and that they think they maybe missed out, copy traded things that happened before. And I think we've seen it as, flows have gone into different thematic things, not just memes. So you saw flows, go into AI, and then people rotated around all these different AI projects. There was no, at least as far as I can discern, no real, thought around, oh, well, this one is more, is better than this other one, or, just like distributed GPUs, like this one has, better GPUs than this other one. They all just kind of traded in somewhat correlated because people were trading themes, and then they weren't really trading like actual, asset selection or individuals. And so I think that's primarily what it is. The problem now is that I think memes are, as a singular asset. And for the most part, it is an asset class of which every time there is a new meme, it is diluting the others because the buyers are one pool. There's not a new buyer for, Billy than there wasn't for Whiff. There's not a different product there. It's the same thing. And so you're basically have all of these meme coins that are kind of like vulturing each other, which I think is going to create a big problem for any of that reflexivity to continue to exist.
Sure. So, if I understand correctly, the major reason that you just now mentioned is about the, say, the advance of product and tech on launch, right? And then the copy trading effects, then it reflects in some house. But I got another theory, which could be a tough one for you. Everyone's saying that in this cycle, it's so hard to make money than the last cycles. If we divided the coin into three categories, right? So the majors, BTC, ETH. Second category, say blue chips. Blue chip are mainly backed by VCs, right? And then the third category, let's call them meme and altcoins. And people right now are saying that because of this advantage of VCs, it's only VC who could invest into those blue chips and then later on at a lower valuation and then later on push up the valuations and dumps when it got listed. So that's the reason why people are flooding into meme coin because they can't make money on blue chip anymore. What's your response to that? Yeah.
I can go first. Well, first of all, I think the valuation thing, it's a real thing. Coming from Web 2 and then look at Web 3 companies at the same stage, the valuation is just ridiculous because you have token warrant. So yes, it's high. But I don't think any VC wants to buy into any projects at high valuation. They're just not natural. So I think the high valuation, that narrative of VC buying to these token and a relative lower valuation than dumping the market has some truth to it. But again, I think it's a narrative. And by the way, VC has lockup period, so it's not as easy as you want to dump actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's totally valid. It's a valid discussion. I think there are certain things that maybe you could do moving forward to have, more fair distribution of tokens. But whenever, VCs come into the play, you're going to have people that come in, at an earlier stage in the project, taking that risk, putting forth that capital, and hopefully providing some value back to the project. If that creates a scenario where retail users aren't able to invest into tokens when they release, then that's a big problem for the space. And I think your theory could be right. That could be what is pushing people towards some meme coins because they feel like that's the only fair distribution that they can get access to. But yeah, there's probably some work we can do on that space.
I hard disagree with all of that, and obviously, you can figure out what my incentive structure is, but I think broadly, markets are really good at relaying information, right? And what we have seen is that it actually isn't true that everything that has listed at some high valuation is like, coming down dramatically. Everything's down from all-time highs from, a few months ago, but the meme coins are down 70%, and then the, mid alternatives are down 40%, and Bitcoin's down 30%, right? The market's moving somewhat in tandem with each other. And if you look at, a lot of people did make a lot of money on Ondo, right? So Ondo did do they did like a coinless sale at like 500. They launched at, I think it was a sub-billion the day it launched, and now it's 9 billion, right? You look at things like Athena, which have traded really well. You look at things like there's like Jupiter, which like launched pretty not Jupiter, sorry, Drift, which launched at a relatively low valuation, and they said, oh well, we're the biggest perp dex on Solana. We launched at a low valuation. That should incentivize people to come in, and they haven't seen flows because of that. That's not really why people are putting money into these things. They're putting money into these things because they're like rotating capital into and gambling on these what they've seen as an ability to essentially like maybe pump super quickly, and then hopefully they can get out of it. They don't care that that there's like a fair launch issue. They care about like what is the reflexivity of me making 10 times my money really quickly. And when it's when there's a few $100,000 or a few $1 million of liquidity at a thing that comes off pump.fun, and they're like hoping that they can like trade in and out of it before everybody else. It's just, you're throwing some balls on a roulette table, right? And you're like hoping that like you're winning, and vast majority of people are losing.
Sure. Then with the market, we know that, like as you mentioned, the market has corrected a lot recently. And I will have my last questions on your outlook into these different categories of coins, like majors, blue chips, and memes. What is your view on their pricing trend in the next year? Yeah.
You guys go first. I have no idea.
So I'm not going to put like numbers on it because like who knows, right? I think that's the reality. Here's what I will say is in crypto we have this like reverence to these like cycles, and we say, oh well, we're in this cycle. What part of the cycle we're in? And it's mostly, frankly, like nonsense. Honestly, because there's no reason that it has to be true. We can talk a little bit about, the Bitcoin like halving cycle, but like broadly for alternatives, there's no reason that has to be true unless you think it's all one-to-one correlated. What was actually happened is that, crypto looks like it's in this cycle because it's mostly been correlated to like the macroeconomic business cycle, right? And if I look around what is happening in the macroeconomic world today, like we're in a pretty mediocre place. Like the growth in the U.S. and Europe and China and parts of Asia, they're below historical norms. It's held up better than we would have expected, considering interest rates where they are, but they're not doing well. We're not on an upward trend at the moment in those places relative to where they were before. We've had quantitative tightening. There isn't this excess capital, and all of that is actually likely to change going into next year, right? So going into next year, we're likely to have, we could have more regulatory clarity in different parts of the world, including the U.S. We're likely to have more quantitative easing. We might have, a friendlier crypto environment and the White House and in the U.S. And I will expect that we'll see an accelerating, business cycle, which should mean that crypto also does really well. Whether that's, Bitcoin at 100,000 or 150,000 or, $1 million, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. I think a lot of people right now are looking at probably a continued chop for a little bit, looking at the elections in November as a major catalyst for change, like Rob said, as a broader business cycle change. And so I think going into the next year, a lot of people are a little bit more optimistic, and just what I know from portfolio companies that are looking to launch tokens or looking to fundraise at certain times, you can sort of line up which dates they're targeting with what the general consensus is of when the market is going to come back. And so I think, yeah, like what Rob said, probably into next year.
Yeah, I agree with what Rob said. So basically on the macro level, we're hoping to see more liquidity come to the market, and most central banks are heavily in debt right now. So I think they are incentivized to drop the rate, hopefully soon. I think they're waiting on the Federal Reserve. So when that happens, we hope the dollar value drops as well, and then, we can expect some bull market.
Hopefully, yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for insightful discussions and sharing. Thank you.
Thanks for moderating.
Thank you. So again, thanks everyone for coming, and it's an exciting time to build in cryptos, and it has been very vibrant. We have very vibrant discussion right now. In fact, SynFutures, also I'll stress it again, SynFutures itself is a top 3 derivative DEX in the world by volumes. And we found that we are in a very good position in that we have lots of communities in the Asians and have very good connection in the Western VCs, founders, medias, etc. So we would love to invite all of you to help us contribute to the bridging of communication gap together. And if you're interested in to participate into the forums as the speakers, if you're interested in co-hosting the events together, and also if you're interested to tap into both the Eastern and Western audience by listing your token on our platforms, welcome to contact all of us. We have an TG event TG group. Oh, I see. Here, that welcome everyone to scan and join. Thank you.